Welcome to the Reseller Show with your hosts, Andy Lawrence and Kevin Blackburn.
Alrighty, so what I want to talk to you guys about this evening, a couple of things. Mark over in the Wholesale Hub Facebook group actually posted up an interesting article from Tame Bay, who I like to have a look at every now and again. And they are talking, I think, to be honest with you, they've got a few things mixed up because they're putting this article saying eBay war on arbitrage sellers ramps up in 2019, which is quite a sensational headline. But to be honest with you, I don't think he has an exact understanding between arbitrage and drop shipping. But he goes on to say eBay have declared war on arbitrage sellers around the world. Arbitrage is the practice of listing products on eBay that you don't own. But my understanding is that's drop shipping. That's not arbitrage. When an arbitrage seller wins an order, they place a corresponding order on another marketplace or with an online retailer, entering their buyer's shipping address. That's wrong. That's called drop shipping. That's not arbitrage. So, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I don't know why there is whipping up of all this tension regarding arbitrage selling, but it's interesting to read all the same. It does seem like he has something in for arbitrage sellers, which I don't really understand the reason is. Does anyone here sell a lot of arbitrage on eBay? Because obviously a lot of us are arbitrage, online arbitrage, and retail arbitrage sellers on Amazon. But how much do you actually do on eBay? Because I must admit, as a practice, I always check my deals on eBay to see if there is a market for them and if there's enough profit. And if I do, I do. But usually there's not, so I don't know how many people are actually doing a decent job with arbitrage on eBay. But when you have to manually fulfill it, to me it just makes it a little bit not very scalable. So I don't like to do that, really, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's a tricky one, at least with something like when you've actually got wholesale accounts, you can you've got a steady business that you can build up at least. But arbitrage, I don't think it really lends itself to eBay. But whilst we're waiting for Kev, what's Kev at to say? Okay, Kev's going to see if we can sort out his connection at the moment. It's a bit of a weird one, but he's going to log out and come back in again. Just Amazon fulfilled. Yeah. So, let's have a chat with you guys whilst we're waiting for Kev to get sorted. How is everyone's business going on? Does anyone have any questions for me whilst we're here? I know Simon is dealing with a lot of wholesale. He's doing well because I had a chat with Simon last week. Really interesting to see how well his business is doing. Sam, I know that you got started with used books. Are you still continuing that vein? Are you looking into online arbitrage? Are you getting more into other areas or other marketplaces? How is everyone doing, basically? What are the bottlenecks? That's always a good question. What are the bottlenecks you're experiencing in your business? What is stopping you from going from where you are now to the next level? What's stopping you getting from 20,000 to 100,000 or from 50,000 to 200,000? What do you think the next jumps are? Where is the next? What's the next thing to scale your business? Be interesting to hear how you're getting on with your business. We can do a little bit of a Dr. Andrew session. I thought I saw a comment on the Reseller Show. Tim says, anyone views on pallet returns compared to online retail arbitrage? Well, obviously, pallet returns is a totally different concept to online or retail arbitrage, but it's a good business model. Pallet returns. I've done it over the years at different times. The key thing is to get the right supplier with pallet returns, because there are some very good suppliers and there are some less than helpful suppliers. You'll get some people that honestly take pallet returns. They'll come in, they'll get palletized, and they'll go out. And you'll get some good, some bad, some broken, and they'll be graded and everything else like that. that's fine as long as you know what you're getting. But some people will take stuff out, put some rubbish stuff in the middle, so you'll get like 60% rubbish, and they'll put a few good things at the top, so you think you're getting a decent haul, but really getting rubbish. So you need to make sure that the person that you're dealing with is on the level and will give you a chance to make a decent return. But if you've got the space and you've got the opportunity and the time to actually do that, then it's a decent business to get into for sure. Now let's see how Kev gets on. It looks like he's turning back up into the room. Let's see if we can get him back on the show. No, he's left the room again. Oh, there he is.
I think I'm back.
You are back, and I can hear you.
Oh, good. We'll see how long I'm back for.
Yeah. Oh, that was slightly worrying, but it's good to see you back anyway.
Yeah. So Virgin Media are going to get a phone call tomorrow morning.
Oh boy, the fun and games of live broadcasting. Never mind, we will soldier on. We'll soldier on.
Yeah. We'll soldier on. Apologies to everybody that's here.
No worries. We'll crack on anyway. We just had, whilst you've been away, we've been having a chat about a few things, and just asking where everyone's at with their business and what they're doing. And just to finish out that, Sam says for scalable purposes, Sam's now looking to jump into online arbitrage and wholesale, and that he'll be at the Spring Fair on the 7th, which is great because we will both be there on the 7th. So be good to meet you, Sam, on the 7th. That would be awesome. So yeah,
sure will be. Looking forward to it, Andy.
Yeah, no, it'll be. I'm really looking forward to it. We'll make sure we'll put the details on the Reseller Show group to make sure we know where we're going to be at what time. So we'll definitely have a Reseller Show meetup. Hopefully, we'll be able to create some content as well. And yeah, so it'll be good to see you, Sam, on the 7th. And anyone else who's able to make it, it'd be good to have a Simon there as well, or more than one Simon. I know that one Simon is trying to get there, and maybe another Simon would be good to be there as well. So yeah. Anyone else who can make it would be good.
Definitely. Looking forward to meeting you guys. And hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties when we're face to face.
But if you physically leave the room and come back in again, it will be weird, Kev.
Yeah. Anyway, it appears to be good now. So
yeah, no, you sound absolutely fine, Kev. You're not glitching at all now, so I think you'll be okay. So let's continue with the show. Do we have any news for this evening, Kev? Have you heard any interesting factoids you'd like to share with us this evening?
I went down a bit of a rabbit hole probably about half an hour ago or so, and I was reading about, I don't know whether you guys have heard this whole talk about a pending recession and what's potentially going to happen. We're living through this. I mean, when's the last recession? 2008 or something. So it's been like 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so I was just reading this article, and it was actually not entirely what the site was called. I'll put a link in it at some point. And it was basically saying, is what will happen with Amazon during a recession? And it got me thinking. I've not really thought about it, to be honest. What would happen with Amazon during a recession? So do you have any thoughts about what could or may happen with a recession? Thinking about it, like, me starting in 2015 when there's obviously no recession. We've never gone through a recession. A lot of people that's probably listening to this, and maybe even yourself, Andy, I don't know what point you started. It might have been during a recession. I'm not entirely sure. But what's your thoughts on what could happen to Amazon and online reselling in general if there was a recession?
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. I've traded through at least one recession, that's for sure. And to be honest with you, I think it does depend on what type of business sector you're selling in and things like that. But yeah, there are certain business sectors that would probably see a slowdown. If you were maybe selling high-end designer clothes, maybe jewelry and things that people could do without, You may see, if there are across the board real hardships, you may see a slowdown in some of the more luxury goods and things like that. But to be honest with you, everyday products, less than less than luxury items, I would imagine you'd see less, because it is in our fabric. Online retail is in our fabric of our being now. And I think very much people still, okay, they may have less money if they don't get as many pay rises and money is tight. They will, I think traditionally people will hold on to their money in certain areas. If they were going to redo their kitchen or something and they were saving up for that, maybe they'll just hang on for that, and maybe they won't. If they're thinking of maybe moving house, maybe they'll just not wait another year and see how the market is first. Maybe they were going to do a go on holiday. You know what, guys, let's skip that holiday and wait till later on in the year. There are certain things I think people might do in reaction to having less money. But are they going to say, kids, you're not going to get Christmas presents this year? Little Johnny, you're not going to get a birthday present. We've got less money. It just doesn't happen. I think maybe there would be a few less gifts, but really, to be honest with you, if you're selling in the toy market, if people adults would go, I'm probably you're best to answer this one, Kev, but I imagine if money was tight, your kids would be the last to suffer in that situation. You would probably go out without things, and you would sacrifice things in your life, but I imagine your kids would have everything that they need, because that's just how we are. And as humans, I don't think in everyday life, if you're selling that type of stuff, I just don't think it would make too much difference. Do you?
No, I don't actually think so. I think I think it would give more opportunity, if anything. I don't know whether there'll be even more sales on. It always seems like there's a sales on every day, but I think in general, I don't think it would affect us too much, apart from potentially give us more opportunity. Obviously, I don't know what it looks like from like an Amazon point of view when you're talking billions and billions every single year. They might have some sort of metrics, but this article, it actually referred to Amazon purchasing Whole Foods and saying how much of a clever idea that really was, because ultimately people still got to eat. Do you know what I mean? Like they're still going to make a lot of money from their groceries and things.
Precisely.
So, but yeah, I don't think really we're going to be all that affected. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I definitely think, recessions don't mean everyone suddenly runs out of money. I think some people panic a little bit and will have knee-jerk reactions to things, and certain business sectors suffer more with that. And definitely, maybe if you sell cars, people might hold on to their cars for another year and holidays, and maybe they won't buy as many clothes. Will hold on to our money, but that doesn't affect everyday items. If you buy stuff, you need to buy stuff, and everyone has a budget that they may set for their household and for different things, and certainly birthdays and things. If people have birthdays, will continue to have birthdays, and so if you're in the type of business sector where you may be selling toys or gift related stuff, I just don't think it would. I don't think it would be an issue. No, I really don't. I've seen these sort of tight times come and go, and I've never really seen it turn up in my figures. And maybe that's because of the sectors that I sell in. I don't know, but it's I can't see it being a massive issue personally. And for us, the great thing about being self-employed is we can always do something about ourselves. If you're in a job and your job says to you that you're not going to get a pay rise this year. So effectively, because of the interest, you might end up going backwards a little bit. There's not a lot you can do apart from maybe try and get another better paid job, which might be harder in a flatter economy. But as business owners, we can look to add new income streams into our business. We can expand our business, find new product lines, find you wholesale suppliers. There's things we can do to get more money and not have to worry about sitting there. You're not sat in a shop waiting for someone to come in. You can be proactive and you can build and scale your business. So that's the way I've looked at it. If I need more money, I'll just go and make more money. It's not a problem.
Yeah, and Sam makes a good point in the chat. Do you think seller competition would increase because I do think, when you think about a recession and maybe big companies letting workforce go, dropping people and making people redundant and things, people are going to be, as the years go by and as like buying and selling online, being able to become an Amazon seller, an eBay seller, making money on the internet, that is becoming more of a thing now. Like there's a lot more people. Obviously, there's shows like this that people come across and they go, wow, that I didn't know that could happen. So I think it's a good point what Sam makes. I do actually think during a recession, I would probably think there'll be a lot more people going, do you know what? I'm gonna give this a shot now. I'm gonna do something. So yeah, good point, Sam.
Potentially in the startup areas, you might get some more increase. So maybe toys, you would maybe find some newer competition in the main sectors. But don't forget, as the newer people come in, they've got to catch up. They've got to learn what to do. They've got to build, a little bit more experience in their business. And you get yourself ungated into other categories, you can move on into gated categories. New people can't get in there, and so the competition in those categories will be a different type of competition. Obviously, you'll always have competition, but there will be more experienced people that have already gone through the ungating process. They'll understand how Amazon works more, and so you'll be less likely to get the type of people that might want to panic drop the prices on you because they're worried about having their stock tied up on Amazon too long. So there's always things we can do, always things we can do.
And I just while we're on that point, I actually just wanted to just give a quick shout out. I'm not sure whether you've done this already, Andy, but I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Daryl Kennedy, who joined the Reseller Show Facebook group these last couple of days, and he's introduced himself, he's been sending some screenshots, and he looks like he's been taking massive action, definitely. So thanks very much for sharing your story. And for anybody that's not in the Reseller Show Facebook group, you are welcome to join anytime to meet people like Daryl and just join the community. Happy days.
Yeah, no, I haven't mentioned Daryl. I didn't get that far down. I was answering a question from Tim, who asked about pallet returns, whether it's a worthwhile business compared to online and retail arbitrage. We were talking a little bit about that. But yes, Daryl's been pretty busy. He posted a picture up of all the things he's been buying. Looks like he's doing a lot of retail or online arbitrage. But yeah, it was interesting. He talked about being in a shop. He'd been buying things in the shop and actually managed to successfully negotiate the price down on an item, which made it doable to sell on Amazon. So he's been busy making deals, and ultimately, if you don't ask, you don't get. So why not? It's a no-brainer. If you're trying to make a deal and you're spending some money, traditionally, you're not going to haggle in a shop. People don't like to do that, but I embarrass my wife sometimes because I definitely would do that in a shop and ask the question over tiny little things, and she just shakes her head and walk out. But you never know. If someone wants to make a sale and there is a certain element of a discount they can give, if you don't ask, you definitely won't get. But if you say, can you take the price down a bit, then why not? Absolutely. And especially in terms of retail arbitrage, talking to shop managers and getting to know them is awesome, because they all have targets like everyone to sell a certain amount of stock. If you come in there and say, I'd like to buy a lot of this, I'd like to resell it, can you get me some more? Quite often you'll get a good reception and say, yeah, we'll reorder some more for you. And to be honest with you, have a look at this because this might do for you. And then all of a sudden you've got an ally on your side who will actually, show you some deals and may be able to, do something to help you out. So talk to people and find out.
And on that note, I just wanted to give a bit of a shout out to our friend from the US, Reezy, because I watched one of his retail arbitrage videos the other day, and he does whenever. And this is for you guys that do retail arbitrage. Personally, I don't do retail arbitrage, so I have limited experience here. But it's genius what he does, because he might go into a store and, like Andy was just saying, talk to people, build relationships, really, really key, especially if you can get hold of the store manager or somebody that has some type of influence in that store. But then Reezy goes back later on and gives them like a Starbucks $10 voucher or something just to say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I actually thought that was really clever because, you know, if you're doing retail arbitrage, and it's very much, you're going to get known, like people are going to recognize who you are. Eventually people go from like looking at you all funny to maybe suspiciously, and then ultimately they're going to interact with you some way, and anything like that. Like if you come in and just say, thank you very much, you know, thanks for your time, or thanks for that, or whatever, by some type of voucher or whatever, they're going to remember you for a long time, I think.
Yeah,
and every time you come in, especially if they got your number or something, they're going to drop you a quick text saying we've got a brand new delivery coming in tomorrow, or we've got a clearance sale coming on tomorrow, or you're going to be the first person to know because of just that little, you know, £5 gift voucher to Costa Coffee or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely agree. It comes back to that relationships, as I've said many a time. You know, you take the time to get to know someone, and you know, you never know what comes up in conversation. Sometimes it won't occur to them. They'll see you maybe buying lots of things, Reezy buy lots of trainers, but until you actually start chatting with someone, maybe they say, oh, yeah, I just got a load of trainers out the back. I'm just about to discount. Actually, really good. Probably going to be 60% discounts. And you'll be like, can I see him? Yeah, sure, come. And like all of a sudden, you know, you could add, you know, hundreds onto your profit margin just because of a chance encounter, and say, oh yeah, you're doing that. Okay, yeah, I've got some stuff that you might be interested in, but wouldn't have said it, would have walked straight past you if you hadn't taken the time to chat with them and just, you know, see how they're doing. So it can happen over and over again once you engage people, what they're willing to help you do. So yeah, well worth taking the time for sure. And yeah, saying thank you is always a good thing, even if you don't expect anything in return. It's just a nice thing to do as well. So
oh yeah, absolutely, especially for I mean, you guys in online arbitrage, if you've got some regular people that do the delivery drops, or a regular UPS driver, or your next door neighbor, for example, or whatever, wherever you currently are. I know when we were working from home, and I was still working full time, there was times where our next door neighbor would accept our parcels because we weren't in for whatever reason, and just little things like that, just give a thank you, or buy them a bottle of wine or something, just to say thank you. You know, I appreciate you for accepting these parcels and not causing like a headache of having to go to the post office or whatever. And the same with at the warehouse. We made friends immediately with everybody around us, and you know, just tried to support them whenever you can as well. So, for example, we've got a car garage just next door to us, and sometimes he'll go, "Oh, I've just got to pop over to see his mate or where a supplier or something. Do you mind if you just stand in the garage and just like look over it for 5 minutes?" And it's no problem, because it's like one of those, you know, give and take sort of thing. So anywhere you can build a relationship, they'll remember you, especially when it comes to something like a UPS driver or something, because especially in Q4, when there's a scenario where, let's say you are on a UPS drop or pickup, and it's getting towards the point where the vans are too full, and they may not be able to get your stuff in. And that happens quite often. It actually happens where they're just so busy in Q4, but if you've made friends and you've built that rapport with the UPS driver up until Q4, he might just go, do you know what, I'm going to fit yours in instead of somebody else. You know, and those little things make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and they'll always try hard to do something for you. Yeah, absolutely. UPS guys are the guys that's going to look after your stuff, and so yeah, always good. Give them good Christmas tips. I always give plenty of alcohol to my UPS driver. Give them some money, give them some flowers, whatever you need to do to keep them happy. But yeah, I love my UPS driver. He's called Diogo. He's a very funny guy, and he makes me laugh. So I enjoy spending time with him. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Simon says give UPS, postman, parcel verse, DPD drivers Christmas gifts. Yeah, absolutely.
All Christmas gift.
Yeah. Get some of that milk tray on the go. Do what you need to do. But people appreciate
Definitely.
that. You know, it's nice to be appreciated for someone to look you in the eye, shake you in the hand, and say, "I appreciate what you do for me, and thank you." And that goes a long way. So definitely look after the people that help run your business, because it's hard for them as well. Sometimes you may curse the UPS drivers if they don't turn up when you want them to, or whatever. But everyone's got an awkward job to do sometimes, and it's difficult. So just to let them know you appreciate them is well worth the small amount it will cost you in money, for sure.
Yeah.
All righty. So have we got any questions to crack on with this evening? So we've done some news, and I've already talked about pallet returns, which I haven't talked about for a while, actually. I do like that side of business. It's a bit of a, I don't know, with Amazon these days, I used to do it a lot on eBay. But with Amazon being so, you can nail down your profit margins and your research and everything so much. For me, sort of catalog returns and general retail returns by pallet, you always get a pallet, and certain amounts of it is trash, certain amount of it is really good, and some of it's in the middle, and it's very hard to systemize that, because you don't know what you're going to get every single time. So compared to where my business is now, where I've got very clear visual over what I'm getting, and building quite a stable business, when I was doing that sort of thing, you'd literally just open it up and say, right, I wonder what I've got in here, and you might end up with a load of rubbish, but there would always be some value that you could make. But it's quite a manual business compared to something with online arbitrage, where you could take yourself out of it, but without staff, obviously it would be quite a time intensive business to go through pallets, physically grade the items, check them out, test them, make sure
Doing a bit of Storage Wars. Did you ever watch that show? Yeah, I would have loved to go on that show. Yeah, I'd love to go to. I'd love to go to anything like that, where you just open some container up and it's like bidding on something. That'd be right fun.
Yeah. Did you know that friend of the show, Lewis Wade, was actually on that program, the UK version? Did you ever see him in that?
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, he was in that. He was in the background quite often. If there was a group of people standing around bidding on containers, he was there in the background. So he knows all about that. We should have asked him when he was on, actually.
Yeah, should have done. Wow.
Yeah, it was part of that show, but it's a bit much, really, for me. I think there's some interesting characters on the UK one. I watched a few, and then it jarred me a little bit, but I think the producers of the show were trying to get some forced aggression out of people sometimes. But no, I love the idea, the actual idea of physically going and getting containers and bidding on storage lockers and stuff would be good fun to do, actually. Yeah,
it's probably a bit more. I mean, obviously there's people that do that like professionally, but I think maybe for us it's a bit too risky. There's nothing really. It's a bit gambly. That's what you're doing. You're really gambling, aren't you? So that's certainly not something that we like. We don't gamble. We look at the data at all times.
Exactly. It's a totally other end of the scale. You're kind of taking a punt, which is okay if the rewards are big enough to even it out. But it is, compared to what we do in our business, it is totally other end of the spectrum. But a bit of fun all the same. I still enjoy going to auctions whenever I can, just for the fun of seeing what's there, bidding and finding stuff to resell. But it's not an efficient way of making money compared to what you can do with wholesale and scaling it with arbitrage and stuff like that. So it's all good fun, and I don't get any chance anymore. But I used to love a car boot. Did you used to love a car boot, Kev? Did you ever get out to car boots?
I did, yeah, actually. Back in the day, there was a car boot not too far away from where I live, and it was absolutely huge place. And this was back in the day where you'd go get like the latest movies and things, like copyrighted movies. I always used to love going there, because you'd end up like whatever's on at the cinema, at that time, you'd be able to get like a real, well, I mean, back in the day, it was an all right copy. It was probably really crap, really. But yeah, I used to love it. When I was little, I was only like sort of 10 at the time, and just walk around this place and just be good fun, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, do love it because you never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get, which is good fun. But Tim's been on. What are you saying, Tim? We are using the pallet returns to involve our whole family. Good fun for us all. Agree the arbitrage would be easier to measure going forward. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You know, you don't always have to scale the success of something as to pounds and pence. You know, if it's a good fun thing to get your family involved, rooting around and seeing what you can find in there, then why not? Yeah, it's you know, it doesn't have to be pinned down to the latest absolute second of what you can get out of your business. But yeah, be interesting to hear how you get on with that type of business, Tim, because it's been many years since I've been doing it. But yeah, I used to make some good money from them, but it was very hit and miss. You wouldn't get continuity. That was the trouble. One pallet consignment would be amazing. You make a lot of money. The next one, okay, and then you might break even on another one because it was, you know, not so much good stuff. So that was many years ago, more when I was on eBay. But yeah, it's certainly not a bad thing. And I actually found a wholesaler or a supplier at the autumn fair one year that was doing catalog returns. I think they were graded and they were much better condition. There was nothing broken or anything else like that. I never actually had the opportunity to go any further with him, but I think he was taking volume customer returns or certainly shelf pulls and stuff. So yeah, there's always interesting areas to look into. It's not quite liquidation because liquidation's a little bit different, but yeah, all interesting. There's so many different sectors, isn't there, to choose from. You'd be there all year if you try them all.
Oh yeah, it's I mean, one thing. What was I thinking about earlier? I was thinking about just out of curiosity, Andy. Do you know, in terms of wholesale, do you have any sort of, because I was talking, I don't know whether I told you, but I hired a new manager that's come into the business, and I was sort of going through our weekly reports for our online arbitrage business, and that got me thinking about sort of wholesale and things. Is there anything that you look at on like a weekly basis? I assume that you do like replenishable on the weekly basis, but do you have any type of general, I guess, some type of weekly report or something that you developed to specifically look at some key areas? Because I was sort of thinking about that in terms of my wholesale business, and I thought, oh, well, speaking to Andy later.
Absolutely. Yeah, good question. Can't be of much help. Yeah, I wish I could say, excellent, Kev. Yes, let me go through all the weekly updates. No, apart from actually checking what I'm getting low on in terms of replenishable stock, which is kind of obvious. You keep an eye on things that are selling, and I try to keep ahead of myself with that and always have a good stock in when things are getting low. I want to be ordering and replenishing before they actually get low in Amazon, because I've got a rough idea how quickly they're selling. So yeah, the replens obviously is something you keep an eye on, and you could easily systemize. You could probably have as something quite easy to explain to someone how that is done. In terms of other things, from my side of things, as I mentioned before, I don't have masses and masses of different lines that get too confusing. I like to have a less and to be able to make more from them, really, at this stage in my business. I'm always adding on additional lines as I go, but it's manageable for me to go through at the moment. So from your side of things, I know you scale a lot more, so you'll have a lot more lines, and so there are a lot more procedures you want in place to keep track of everything. But really, from my point of view, from the wholesale, not really, not so much. It's all kind of a manual process. Yeah, apart from the replens, pretty straightforward, really. I like to keep things simple. As I've probably said to you before, I try and look for opportunities to make more money, and quite often that will mean things will sell slower. I would rather wait for the sale and make more money than I would because I've got the turnover to be able to do that, rather than have quick in and quick out, which means make a lot of smaller amounts. But they're two very perfectly viable different methods. But I tend to have a slower turnover and make a higher percentage return compared to other faster returns. So I don't really have an issue of trying to keep check of a lot of things at once. It's it's more straightforward for my business.
Oh yeah, I mean, wholesale is much. It's a much more. Don't get me wrong. There's obviously a lot still involved, but compared to online arbitrage, there is you're working with a smaller library of products, and you're not getting the the entire inventory is not like replenishing all the time,
Right.
So I love wholesale, Andy. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I can't wait to get to the trade show and just keep building on it, really, because it's much more straightforward.
That's
and I don't mean that I don't mean that disrespectful in any way against wholesale or anything, but it's just so much more. I can imagine once you find a line from a supplier wholesaler that is just going to be good for indefinitely, it's just so much easier to replenish. You're not like having to chase yourself all the time.
Yeah, that's right. And you can almost become the wholesaler as well. If you get a good line and you haven't got much competition and you can get a good deal, you can get an even better deal if you buy volume. I'm in a situation where I may pay a very large amount of something. I'll keep it, and then I will call off that as and when I want to send it to Amazon. And I could have 8 months supply of something potentially if it makes sense to me, and I can get a decent deal on it, and there's not that much competition, and it's been stable. I wouldn't do that straight off the bat, but if I'm selling and replenishing and it's working well, and I know that there's a deal on the cards and I can do something, then why would you not? Because that means you can almost control that line. It's like, right, I know for the next 8 months I'm going to get this much money over this much time, and it's still repeat selling, and there's no real competition coming in, and you can speculate on those sort of lines. But then you because kind of how much is selling regularly, you put a couple of months up on an Amazon FBA, and then just every couple of months put another couple of months. It's done. Forget about it. Go on to the next line. And there's a lot.
You're as close. You're pretty much at private label, really. I mean,
getting on that way. Yeah. You're as close. There's less links in the chain because you haven't necessarily got to buy the stuff, have it delivered to you, and then immediately break it down, label it, and send it back in. You're not doing that for 6 items or 12 items. You take one consignment, it comes in, and then that sits there, and then you call it off as and when you need it. So yeah, it does make it a lot more straightforward, which is great, because that's always been my business model is how can I do less and make more money? That's what I want to be doing.
It's a very good mindset to have. Very good mindset to have.
Yeah, so that's always been what I try and do. But yeah, it is wholesale is fundamentally different. But yeah, it's just about getting stuck in and finding those lines. When you're in a great situation, Kev, where you've got a great system, you've got people, you've got staff, you can turn over large amounts with your warehouse and everything. So it stands to reason you should play to your strength, especially with the way you systemize everything, and you can create systems for things. It makes sense that whereas I might look at something and say, you know what, that doesn't suit my business model, maybe I'm not going to make as much profit. Whereas you can say that would be perfect for me, because we can take that in, we can get it turned around, we can get it back out again, and I'm going to make enough profit from that because I've got everything in place to do so, which is great, and that's the beauty of it, because everyone has their own way of doing things, and because of the way you've got it set up, why would you not? If there's profit in something and you can make it work, that means there's so many more lines available to you. You automate that, you scale that, then you're laughing. So I think it'll be interesting for you this year as you find more wholesale.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, definitely, I'm going with, and that's why it's been great to bring in. He's called Steve, and he's an electrical engineer as well. And it's great actually to bring another engineer in and be able to talk. And and get opinions and things. It's been fantastic these last couple of weeks, having somebody new come into the business and go, oh, have you ever thought about doing this? Have you ever thought about doing that? I mean, straight away he's wanting, because he's super enthusiastic as well. He absolutely loves everything about what we do. He's super excited to go to the trade show, etc. But he's already expanding the business rapidly. Going, why aren't you doing these? Why aren't you doing this seller fulfill prime? You know, why can't we use the resources that we've already got in the warehouse and start shipping by ourselves? And I'm like, why aren't we doing that? You know, but this is where it's great to have other people come into your business, and that's why it's fantastic to have somebody that is just a fresh eyes and just go, this is what we could do, and that's how you could get there. And a lot of the time, and that's why I like doing these types of this conversation, this sort of mastermind type conversation, because sometimes it's you don't need a lot. Like, it could simply be just sort of a 5mm turn, or just a different slight approach, and you could potentially double your business. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. That always happens, and that's why it is good with having conversations with suppliers for the same reason. Just shooting the breeze, stuff comes up, and then they say, oh, maybe you'd be good for this type of thing, and not necessarily what they're pushing at the moment, but by talking about your business, then they'll be like, you'd be suited for this and that and the other. And so it's great to be able to do that. And so it sounds like it's going to be an interesting time for you, because it's changing again every year. It seems to change your business model, Kev. So it'll be really interesting to see how what aspect he brings on, and how he manages to change the business for the better again. So absolutely. So Tim's just had a question or a comment here. He said, my main is an events business, which is start full-time in Wednesday, leaving my IT career behind, which is online business but reselling. So repairing IT equipment is not too difficult. Look forward to trying arbitrage as new side gig. So watch your show with interest. Great. No, it's good to have you, Tim. And good luck with your new move, and keep us posted, because we're always interested. That's what the thing is about online business. There's so many different things you can do, and I love it. I love hearing about the different business models that are available online, and people taking different approaches with things. You know, it's a brave new world, and there's always interesting things to learn. So keep us posted, Tim. We're really interested to see how we get on.
I totally agree, Andy. The thing I love about this whole reselling community is there's so many different aspects of reselling. Like, Tim, you've just mentioned there, repairing IT equipment. You know, that's just a whole beast in itself, where you could be repairing things and then selling them on. Or I know Matt from the community, the mastermind as well. He does he goes and buys like DVDs and stuff in bulk, and he fixes them up and then sells them pretty much brand new. And so I love how there's just so many different ideas, and there's different ways of doing this. So you could, for example, find like collectible items. I don't know. Some people may be interested in a specific type of product, and you find some type of collectible items that you just sell on all the time. And that's what I love about this whole community. I really, really do.
There's so many different niches out there, and it's fascinating. People are making a really interesting living with with their passions as well, because it will naturally organically grow out of maybe their hobby or something like that. If you think about the amount of little niches, whereas someone, I don't know, there's here's a niche for you, someone who's into restoring classic rally choppers. It might be before your time, but do you remember the rally choppers, Kev? The bicycles. You're a bit young.
No, I don't think so.
They were in the 70s, of the big handlebars and everything else like that. And probably people nearer my age will remember them. And people restore them, buy them. They used to have them as a kid, and you buy them and literally strip them down and repaint them and put the original stickers on. It's a whole community of people wanting to relive their youth and bring these classic bikes back to looking better than new. And there'll be someone in that community who will specialize in recovering the saddles. They had a very unique saddle, like a motorcycle, and there'll be one guy, and everyone will use him to recover their saddle, and he'll charge £120 per saddle, and he'll be busy all day, every day, recovering saddles for the rally chopper restoration community, which will be like, that's random. Most people would never have heard of it, and there'll be one guy who is the authority on just recovering those saddles, and he'll probably make a really decent income with his hobby that's just naturally growing, because someone said, oh, you did an amazing job recovering that saddle, can you do mine? Yeah. And then he hears about it online. Oh yeah, George recovered my saddle, can you do mine? Yeah, of course. And then all of a sudden this very small but very well established niche will suddenly be your full-time job. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and like Simon just said there, it'll go for a fortune now. Once, things from years ago, collectible item, something that somebody's looking for, that they've been maybe searching for months upon months trying to find something, and then all of a sudden it pops up on an eBay store or somewhere, or a Facebook marketplace, and money's not an object to them at that point there then, because they've been maybe looking for this particular item. They're like, finally I can get hold of it, and now they're willing to pay whatever it is.
Yeah, and people buy with their heart as well with that type of thing. If it's rare enough and they need it, or it's important enough to them, it almost doesn't matter. If they've got the money, it's like, I really want that, and that's going to make me happy, so that's what I'm willing to pay. So there's a lot of little niches like that. So always interesting what you get into, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. So do we have any more questions going on, guys, before we wrap it up? Because we're getting up to close to the hour mark this evening. So do we have anything you would like to chat about before we wrap it up?
Interestingly, just thought I'd just put this out here. I was playing again with merch the other day, and I've had a Merch by Amazon account for a long time. Actually, like one of the earliest accounts that I never actually did anything with. But I logged back in maybe after not being logged in for like 10 months or something stupid, and I noticed that they're actually they're linking to Amazon.co.uk merch as well now, and I think they've been doing that for some time. But interestingly enough, like, it'd just be interesting to know how. I know merch is starting to get much bigger in the US, but in the UK, that's definitely, it must still be a good opportunity. It's early doors yet in the UK still.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, it hasn't been open that long. I mean, I've heard that it was coming to the UK, but it can't be that long that it's actually opened up in the UK. It's got to be less than 6 months, I would imagine, because certainly it wasn't that long ago since I heard that it was coming, but it wasn't available at that time. So yeah, it's a new thing in the UK for sure. And in terms of passive income streams, it's a great one. Obviously, you've got to do the work up front to create designs and everything else like that, but you don't touch the fulfillment, you don't touch the stock, and you don't have to do anything. So in terms of another independent income stream, it's definitely a good one. If you are looking for one to get into, it's definitely something, if you have the time. As always, go back to, you do need to make sure you're not getting distracted and not doing something else when you could be actually focusing on your main business. But yeah, if you're looking for an additional income stream, I definitely think merch has got legs, because it's it's something that you can create in the evening and just spend just a little bit of time on. You can keep adding value in relatively short bursts. You haven't got to dedicate a whole day to it. It's definitely something you could just spend 2 hours of an evening and just say, I'm going to spend 2 hours 3 evenings a week, and that's all I'm going to do. Keep it like that, and you could actually grow your business quite well doing something like that. So yeah, interesting to see how that one goes. Maybe we should get a UK merch seller on and have a chat with them.
It would be great to get somebody in who's in merch. I just had a quick look on Amazon here, and I can actually see there's this merch shirt, because you can tell when they're a merch t-shirt, and this t-shirt here, all it basically says is, it says, oh my god, and there's a pig in the on the top of it, and it's got nearly 90 reviews, and it's ranked at 2,000. So I mean, this guy, I'm not entirely sure how much he's making from that, because I'm not entirely sure what the royalties and everything works in the UK. But I mean, he's done that work once, and he's doing whatever he's doing at this point.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the thing. You don't need many decent hits before you're getting a decent passive income with that type of thing. So yeah, and it can be a fun thing as well. If you're a bit of a creative person, you like sort of coming up with some unique T-shirts. If you are that type of person, then it's a great thing, because it's kind of like a hobby, creating little cool little sayings and slogans on T-shirts, or creating a little graphic or something. And it's going to make you money as well. So what better way to combine a bit of fun, a bit of a hobby with some additional income? So yeah, it's got legs, I think, definitely that type of thing, and fun as well. If you can find some amusing little punchlines to put on T-shirts, and what I love are the observation ones. Like if all you've got to do is watch Donald Trump's Twitter feed for a few days running, and he'll probably come up with something ridiculous. Stick it on a T-shirt, and
that's what happens, isn't it?
Yeah. That's all you have to do. Or do the same. Do the same thing with Boris Johnson in the UK or something. He's bound to come up with something absolutely ridiculous. Stick it on a T-shirt, and you probably go mad, because it's a new niche. Just created a new niche by coming out with some bizarre thing that you can leverage, even if it's for a few.
Just a picture of a wall or something.
Yeah, exactly. There's always some interesting stuff going out there. So yeah, if you've got that sort of a keen eye and an observational eye, and you can see new niches coming out as and when people say bizarre things, then there's always opportunities to make new Brexit with a wall. Exactly. You could do all sorts of crossovers, couldn't you? All sorts of crossovers. So I think Brexit will have plenty of scope to make T-shirts that would actually do really well if you could find the funny side of it, which is struggling at the moment. But if you could find the funny side of Brexit, you could definitely sell some T-shirts. So yeah.
Well, I think like you said there, Andy, I think it's definitely an opportunity, but it's like you mentioned there, you've got to try and not do everything all at once. It's impossible to build your online arbitrage business or your wholesale business as well as trying to do merch as well. It's now if you had some type of I don't know, T-shirt designer, or somebody that was doing this for you, which will obviously cost. I just wouldn't, and that's why I actually gave it up, simply because it was just burning at too many ends.
Yeah, that is the thing. You do, if you have an established online arbitrage business and you're looking to scale, then yes, that would be a thing. If you're still building a business and you've still got more to do and you still need to focus on that, then focus on that, because that's important. But if you've got control of the business, you think I've got the hang of this, it's going well, I'm building it, then you've got some time, then fine. There are definite stages where you need to be having shiny object syndrome and just jumping on something because it's another opportunity. There's lots of them. So don't do it just because it's an opportunity, but do it if it fits in with what you're doing. And if you want to add in another string to your bow, then cool. But yeah, as you say, Kev, it's important to, it's one of my biggest, I definitely wouldn't say regrets, and I probably wouldn't even say failures, but something that held me up in the early years was trying to do too much at once, because I was so interested and passionate about many different areas of my business, and I wanted to do all the things. So I did do all the things, but I probably did 40% of all the things at once, which meant I struggled to get any time on one thing. And I got there, but it took a lot longer than it could have done. Whereas if I picked one thing and spent all my time, I probably would have got to the places that I wanted a lot quicker, for sure. So yeah, that's one of my biggest takeaways from the past, and one of my learning experiences is to focus on one thing to make sure you get there. So
yeah, I definitely relate to that. Definitely. I think once upon a time I was starting online arbitrage UK. I was starting Amazon US and then Amazon India came about. I was like, oh, online arbitrage in India as well. Let's do that.
Yeah. Easily. You could easily do that, and it would be understandable. But yeah, you've got to make sure. And it's good to have high expectations, but it's high expectations tempered with reality as well, because you don't want to think, oh, I'm not capable, I shouldn't do it, because definitely have good expectations and you want to push yourself, and you don't know your limits until you push yourself a little bit. That's all good stuff, but it has to be in the right direction. It has to be focused as well. So yeah, it's a balancing act like anything, you should, a bit of healthy pushing yourself is good, but not, as you say, not too many directions is just a recipe for disaster. But Sam says, as long as Prince Philip is around, you can kill it with his antics. It's true. Yeah, this is just it. This would be a great opportunity to make a T-shirt. There's been a lot of Facebook memes going around with Prince Philip in recently, and they're all a chuckle. And someone would definitely put that on a T-shirt. So yeah, these are all good ideas for creating new niches and new keywords to put it on a T-shirt for sure. Why not? Characters make for interesting things. So why not keep an eye on the media? Anyway, we're over the hour mark now. Kev, have you got anything to add, or should we wrap it up?
We can wrap it up. I was just literally checking to see if there's a Prince Philip T-shirt already.
I bet there is.
but I couldn't. I haven't found one. Not that I can see anyway.
I don't know where I think I saw something on something on Facebook where someone was saying that Brexit was dominating the headlines too much, and then there's a picture of Prince Philip coming out of a ball of fire saying, "Hold my beer." And he's just I'll do something about that. So yeah, it's great. There's lots of opportunities for a giggle with that type of stuff. But yeah, it's exactly the type of thing you want to be looking for. Anyway, let's wrap it up now, Kev. It's been good chatting with you. I'm glad you managed to sort out your internet connection anyway, and you didn't disappear.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've literally after a reset, I'm now getting something like 150 meg, something crazy now.
That's crazy. Yeah, that should be fine. Very weird.
Yeah,
so
it is now. I don't know what it was doing before, but I appreciate you for holding the fort.
Yeah, it was fine. It's these things happen. It's not a problem. Anyway, good to chat with you, Kev, as always, and we'll chat again next week if I don't chat to you before that. But
yeah, and thank you guys for joining this evening as always. Sam, Simon, Tim, great to meet you, Tim, and Sam and Simon. Yeah, you guys regulars now. It's great to spend some time with you every week.
Absolutely, and we'll catch you next Monday at this time if you don't see you before. All right, guys, take care, and we'll see you soon.
See ya.
Bye up.
Welcome to the Reseller Show with your hosts, Andy Lawrence and Kevin Blackburn.